It's November and we are in Wolverhampton. It can only mean one thing really, another Grand Slam of darts. And the question here, the question frankly everywhere, can anybody beat Phil Taylor?
How do you stop Phil Taylor from winning the Grand Slam? Do you feel lucky?
Break his arm. Few shots of Sam Brooker.
Hello. Do him in the car park.
It's a cheap shot, but it might work.
Oh yeah.
The greatest Lineker has ever been. Phenomenal.
How do you stop Phil Taylor?
Find his circuit board.
Just play better.
Just psych him out and switch him off.
We're off 30 years dedication. Easy peasy. Have a go.
A warm welcome once again then to the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton and the start of another Grand Slam of darts. This balcony will be our home for the next 8 days, and the question, as we say, as all the players say, is there anyone out there who can beat Phil Taylor? He is, once again, very much the man to beat this year. First things first, a reminder, if you don't know, how the Grand Slam works. It brings together 32 of the very best darts players from both the PDC and the BDO. And the first phase here is round robin with 8 groups of 4 players. Each player will play against the other 3 in the group over just 9 legs. 2 points for a win, and the top 2 qualify for the last 16. From then on it is straight knockout. The winner is decided next Sunday, and he or she will receive £100,000 in prize money, and of course will be crowned the Grand Slam champion. The groups have been drawn. They are interesting. They look like this. Phil Taylor seeded 1, inevitably. He's in Group A with Mark Webster, Vincent van der Voort and Anastasia, who performed pretty well here last year. Tony O'Shea's a debutant in Group B and the 8th seed. The 2 Collins, Osborne and Lloyd, and then Brian Woods makes up the 4 in Group B. Mervyn King, will see him first up tonight. He's seeded 5 and leads Group C. Then it's Darryl Fitton, Steve Maish and Kirk Shepherd. Raymond van Barneveld, seeded 4 this year. Partners John Park, Kevin Painter and the lady Frances Huntslar, the ladies world champion. Group E features the Count Ted Hankey, seeded 2, the current BDO world champion. He's in with Simon Whitlock, Wayne Mardle and Scott Waits. Group F features Gary Anderson, now a PDC player and seeded 7. Steve Beaton's made it, I'm delighted to say, as a player to the Grand Slam. Co-Stompy and Kevin McNine make up Group F. Terry Jenkins is seeded 6 in Group G with Adrian Lewis, Darren Young and Dennis Ovens. And in Group H, quite possibly the Group of Death, James Wade seeded 3, Robert Thornton, a doughty competitor, Andy Hamilton, who's always tough to beat, and the mauler Gary Mawson. And our first session of play tonight looks like this. We'll see, amongst others, Phil Taylor and Raymond van Barneveld and Mervyn King in action over the next few hours. So that's how it looks on this first Saturday night. Joining me on the balcony, as usual, 2 men who know their Arrows onions better than almost anybody. A very warm welcome to Chris Mason and Alan Warren Little. Nice to see you both. And the question, first question, the last question in a way, the only question, can anybody beat Phil Taylor?
It's going to be tough. It's more likely that he's going to win it than not. He's in great form. He's yet again this year managed to raise the bar. The boys are up against it this week. It's not impossible. Colin Osborne beat him in the Players' Championship, the Champions Challenge type event.
Yeah.
And beat him in the final. So it is possible. It's relatively short course. If Taylor's going to get beat, it's going to be in a group game.
Yeah.
But once you get him up to that 31 legs, he's unstoppable.
You, being the stats king that you are, Alan, have been looking at the stats, and his stats somewhat inevitably are fairly good.
Well, he's only lost against Colin Osborne in that final. He's won everything else. But the 118 average recently in the European Championship.
Frightening.
Just trying to equate that to actual darts thrown. He's averaging 12 darts a leg. If you're throwing second, you've got to have a 9 darter to win it.
Yeah, which can happen. We saw it here last year, but hard to do it one leg after another.
That's right. That's the difference. You know, it's consistency all the way through, not just in a few legs. Against Phil, he's got to lose 2 games in a group stage, and you just can't see that. And then once it gets to best of 20 to 30 legs, something like that, you just can't see him losing.
Of course, a lot of darts fans, Chris, follow the sport month in, month out, week in, week out. For those that are watching on ITV4 that perhaps haven't been glued to it all year round, who else has been bang-in form of the last 6 months or so.
Colin Lloyd's impressed me. He looks to be coming back to his best. He's played some great matches and then lost a few iffy ones. Colin Osborne's in great form. Kevin Painter is always, gritty. He'll come here prepared.
Yeah.
And obviously Steve Beaton. He's made great strides in the last month. I think he's moved up 18 places in the rankings. And at last knock-ins, made the final of the European Championships and has made the Grand Slam.
Which is terrific. Of the higher seeds, they're the form horses, if you like. Of the higher seeds, James Wade in any kind of
you've
form?
always got your usual suspects. James is always dangerous. Barney, if he's got the right head on. I mean, he's not been playing that well recently, but this could be his week. He needs to do his concentration like he normally does, keep his focus.
Yeah.
That's what a big part of Raymond's game is, focus and concentration, and he hasn't had it recently.
No, we saw obviously great high points for Wadey last year, and we'll look at the 9 darts that he threw a little later, but he's been if you like, a thrower of great darts here rather than a great darts player. He hasn't kept it going.
No, he's had a funny year, James. I don't know. I know he had a small hand injury, but he made the final in South Africa. He obviously won the Premier League, which is massive. No, he's had an indifferent season, but he's going to come here ready. I mean, they're all ready. I mean, they've had a lot, apart from Steve and obviously Steve Maish, who both were sort of late arrivals into the event. All the lads, all the BDO boys, they've had months and months and months to prepare for this, and it's a great opportunity. This is on the biggest stage. It's massive for everyone involved.
And if James Wade's been perhaps inconsistent in the last few months, has Barney been indifferent in the last few months by his standards?
Not sure what's going on with Barney, but I mean, he's done it before. He's had time out of the game. He doesn't take the intensity that he has, as we've seen him walking up, on the walk-ons. He doesn't retain that intensity on the hockey for long enough periods, and he seems to get mentally drained too quick. I know he's been ill, but he's done it before and then come back and played superbly, so who knows.
A word on the newcomer in terms of the big boys, Ted Hankey, the BDO champion. How will he fare here, do you think, Alan?
Well, he's certainly got a chance, but I think a lot of people found it different and found it hard last year. This is his debut, as people will know. So he's going to find it quite difficult, but he's going to have to lose 2 games again in the group stage to not qualify for the next round.
So you would expect him to be in the knockout stage, and then it's how much he fancies it, really.
Well, he's going to be one of the favourites to get through the group, obviously, because he's the seed in the group. So after that, and then we'll wait and see.
The big thing is, how is he going to take the crowd?
Yeah.
The crowds are very different at PDC events than they are at BDO events. I mean, it's a cauldron out there, and he will feel it. If he doesn't prepare right and doesn't keep switched on, he'll struggle.
Of course, we know who copes better with that than almost anybody. That is, of course, Phil Taylor, who's already been on stage here in Wolverhampton this evening. Has been named as a patron of a new charity, Afghan Heroes. That's one of the mothers of the fallen soldiers in Afghanistan. Denise, who's presented Phil with a small memento of thanks for having been named patron of their charity. So well done to that, and we'll see him on stage this evening. But the live action isn't that far away here at the Civic. Saturday night here in Wolverhampton, the first night of the Grand Slam of darts. Mervyn King and Kirk Shepherd will be our first darts players on stage here, and it's not that far off. So we will be back with more build-up as we head towards live action in a couple of minutes.